Oh my goodness. Okay, we are back.
It's been a year.
It has been a year, literally longer than a year, because the last episode that we recorded was December 22nd, 2024, and it is now December 26th, 2025. So episode 35 will be December 2026.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Forget about that.
What do you mean?
It will be 2026 next week.
Well, yeah, but I was saying like it's going to be another year
okay.
before we record.
Yeah.
It won't be another year, I
No.
promise you. I think you will like the schedule that we have set up. So today's episode is episode number 34. We are going to talk about how to stop quitting on yourself every January. And today we are going to kind of show you and, well, tell you about the frameworks that both Holly and I employ personally to kind of be the savages that we are, but that we're also introducing to our clients, both in the new sit downs, but also with like our current clients anytime they struggle, because everybody eventually struggles, right? But it's how you struggle, how intensely you struggle, and how quickly you get your ass back in gear that really matters in all of this.
Right.
So,
and it's very timely with the New Year's. It's kind of a running joke in the gym, the people who are in the gym consistently, like, oh, by March, they'll all be gone and they'll be better and it won't be as crowded. So if we can keep people with their goals, that would obviously be fantastic. So,
true story. And we talked about this in like other older episodes, obviously, but it's like, understand if you're a new person, so like if you're a regular gym goer, you should have all of the love and patience for the new people in the gym. You shouldn't look at them as the other or like somebody who's going to quit. Maybe if we're more supportive of those people, they won't quit.
Right.
And the goal should be like the gym is a community, right? I've like, you don't get that when you go to the grocery store. You don't get that at the bar. You don't get that anywhere else. It's like you go in and everybody should be lifting each other up. And I just think it's extremely important for the new faces to understand you're welcome and for the familiar faces to make them feel welcomed. So,
absolutely.
But we digress. Okay, so before we get into today's episode, we actually had an email from a viewer. And so this is from Melody. And Melody, if you're listening to this episode, I actually want you to know that your email was rather timely because we have some rather sizable goals for 2026. Even though we have not been recording podcasts, we have been making content. And more than that, we have been burying ourselves with work, 6-7 days a week, 60 to 70 hour weeks. And our goal has been to kind of like make a name for ourselves locally before we take that online. And now our goal for 2026 is to start making more noise online. So we had the goal of doing podcasts and getting those started again. And actually, fun fact, if you're watching this video rather than just listening to it, I'll have you know that we almost didn't record today because technically the set is not fully complete. Like if you look behind me, we've got the bookshelves and the lightings, and we spent hours upon hours trying to get all of this set up, but we don't have one missing piece that I won't spoil for you yet. But I'm excited for it when it comes in. But because the set was almost not finished, or rather not finished, we almost didn't record today. But then I realized that like that's actually kind of the point of today's episode. So we're recording regardless. But so Melody, your email came through. Well, I saw it in like mid-November, but it looks like you sent it like November 1st. And I'm just going to read this because I really appreciated it. And it made me chuckle a little bit too. So Melody says, I enjoy your podcast. Please consider an episode focusing on 65 and older ages. My goals are not to look ripped, but to be able to pick up my grandchild easily and not need an aid someday. Also, please consider editing out all of the ums and ahs and other mistakes. That's definitely way more a me thing than anything. Some banter is nice, but too much is tedious. Agreed 100%, and we will be working on that, I promise you, Melody. I do appreciate the feedback. Finally, Holly speaks much softer than you do, so she needs to be closer to the mic or boosted. Agreed 100% as well.
I am made for an ASMR channel.
Yes, she's right on top of the microphone.
But I'm working on it, so here we go.
She is. And believe me, if I tell you that the number of times where I tell her to project, to talk, to speak from your chest, not your throat. So she hears it all the time. But and then finally, Melody closes with, "Thanks for the great resource. An active senior and health nut who would love to lose, who would love to lose 5 to 10 pounds, but just can't." So, Melody, it's not this episode, but we will put something together for you and for anybody else above the age of 65. So, I know Holly and I both train a couple of different clients who are in their mid 60s, even to mid 70s. I think the oldest client I'm working with right now is 75. And then the youngest, I believe, is 27. So there's a wide range of people that we're working with. So we will definitely put some resources together. But I just wanted to give Melody a shout out for that, because I do appreciate the email. And like I said, that was kind of the impetus for us to say, let's start recording sooner rather than later. Right. So, and we have spent many, many hours in the last 4 to 5 days completely cleaning and reorganizing and like getting this whole entire studio ready for a plethora of content that you guys are going to see. We actually have 3 different studios now in the apartment, and we will be doing podcasts. We'll be doing product reviews. We're going to be doing exercise. We're locked and loaded and ready to go for 2026. So I'm excited. Are you excited?
Absolutely.
I am way more excited than you. No. But I can't sleep because I'm so excited. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's get into today's episode. Again, episode number 34. We are now talking about how to stop quitting on yourself every January. So I've had this conversation before with clients, and I'll have this conversation very quickly with Holly, even though she knows where this is going. Are you always motivated?
No, I'm never motivated.
Yeah, you have to play along now because you know where I'm going with this. I'll ask you, the viewer, the listener, if I were to ask you, are you always motivated? My guess is that 99 to 100% of you would say, like, no, I'm not always motivated. And I would argue that you are always motivated. You're just not motivated to do the things that you think you should be doing. And this is a big kind of, it's at the crux of what we're going to be talking about today. So there are 5 big things that we're going to be talking about. This is the acronym that we use here is the GAME plan, GAME, and we're going to talk about that. But when I go back to the motivation thing, you understand that like some people look at motivation through the lens of, I am not motivated. I need to be more motivated. And that's why I'm not going after my goals, because I'm not motivated. What I'm trying to get at is, if you choose to sit on the couch because it's cold outside rather than going to the gym, then you're just not motivated to go to the gym. You're more motivated to stay at home on the couch, but you are motivated to do the thing. Understand, as human beings, we are going to do whatever we are motivated to do, right? So you are always motivated. It's just a matter of lining up that motivation with the thing that you think you want to attain. And I think that these 5 points here, the game plan, I do think that these are going to help you if you take this seriously and if you apply that, right? So we are just going to start right off. Again, GAME is an acronym. So we're just going to go in order. The very first point, and these stack, right? So like I'm going in this order because these things stack in this order. And I'll just get this out right now. This is probably going to be one of those episodes where I'm like full fire 100% of the time. And like, you're going to have to jump in edgewise, right? Because when I start talking this kind of stuff, I get fired up, I get motivated, and I want to light fires under asses out there in the audience. So when you want to say something, unless I'm like,
just hurry and jump in.
Yes, you're going to have to like smack me or say something. So, all right. So the very first thing that we're going to start with is your goal clarity. And write these things down too, because each one of these we're going to look at from a scale of 1 to 100. 1 being like not at all, and 100 being dialed all the F in, right? I'm going to try to keep this one somewhat PC, because I've been told that some of my audience does not like the F-bomb, so I won't drop it as frequently as I usually do. That's going to be a challenging thing. So especially when I'm like getting in this mode. But so goal clarity. Now, when, again, it's New Year's, right? We're coming up on New Year's, and you have a New Year's resolution. It's the perfect time to come up with a new goal. Personally, I think we all should have goals at all times. I don't think there's a time where you should be goalless in your life, because goals are the things that are pulling you out of bed, pulling you forward. Goals are what helped me put the drugs and alcohol and all that shit behind me. And goals are what helped her lose 90 plus pounds and keep it off for 11 years now, 10, 11 years.
Yeah.
It's goals. And to have goal clarity to me is one of the most important things. And it's why it's number one, because if you have goal clarity, that could also be just basically redefined as your desire, right? What is the thing that you want to do, accomplish, become, earn, experience, whatever, right? Goal clarity, aka desire. Essentially, this boils down to you can reword goal clarity as your top priority should be greater than your other desires, right? So whatever that, like, this is when Holly and I will sit down with someone and we're doing their first assessment, or we're doing kind of like a retouching base and kind of like updating the program. We'll ask them, what are your goals? And the common, what do people typically say when we say, like, what are your goals? What's a common answer, or answers, I should say?
Lose weight, build muscle.
Okay. Right. So, and I mean, I would add to that, like, a lot of times I'll have people say, well, I want to lose some fat. I want to build some muscle. I wouldn't mind having a little bit of mobility and, maybe live a little bit longer too. So it's like, it turns into like, hey, these are all great goals, but we have to understand that, like, some of these things compete with each other. Right. And again, there's context with all of these things where, like, yes, we could, in this specific situation, lose some fat and build muscle, or maybe the act of building muscle will help you live longer. Right. But typically, if you're talking like multiple goals, one way, I don't remember where I learned this, but you can kind of look at this as like a triangle or a pyramid. And if you put, like, at each kind of point, right? So the 2 points on the base of a pyramid, and then at the top of the pyramid in no particular order, you could put like performance on one end of that base of the pyramid. On the other side of that pyramid, you could put aesthetics, or how you look, right? So performance, how you move, how you feel, how you do. Aesthetics, how you look. And then at the top of that pyramid is like longevity. Right now, if I'm saying, hey, what's your goal? And you say longevity, performance, and like, I want to build muscle and or improve my flexibility, and I want to lose fat. Well, now we're kind of trying to hit all 3 points of that pyramid, which again is fine. I mean, shit, those are many of my goals, right? But you have to understand that if you were to say my goal is longevity, I'm not worried about aesthetics. I'm not worried about the six pack. So kind of like in Melody's standpoint, right? She wants to lose 5 to 10, but like she wants to be able to, like, live better quality, a better quality life into her lifespan. And you say, I just want to be longevity, then we're not going to be too worried about performance, and we're not going to be too worried about aesthetics. Or like, if Melody doesn't have a six pack, she even said, I'm not worried about being shredded, right? We can really dial in and focus on longevity. But if we're kind of like trying to get a mishmash of those goals, it's going to make it a little bit more difficult. It's not to say that we can't do it. It's just the progress is going to be a little bit slower on each one of those goals, right? Rather than like, hey, this is my one single goal. So this is goal clarity. What I'm trying to get at is, how many goals do you have? And if say we have those 3, 4, 5 goals. If you ask me my goals, it's like, I want to look like a superhero. I want to have like, a super clear, smart brain that can be like, whip fast, whip sharp, whatever. And like, I want to always be learning. Like, I have a bunch of different goals, but I understand that because of that, my progress on squat might be slower, right? Or I might not be the most jacked guy in the gym, or I'm not going to be the most intelligent guy in a room, right? But it's like, I want to like level up myself personally. But if you ask me to prioritize certain things at any one point in time throughout the year, I can tell you right now, this is my priority. Right. So, and this could even expand out to a business side of things. So we want to grow like our business on all fronts right now, which means we want to have more one-on-one coaching clients. We have, this is a new development since the last podcast that we have, that we made. Rather, we have a community now called Nutrient Nation. Check that out. You can just search Nutrient Nation. It's on the school platform, but we want to grow that community right now. We're at like 20 members. We want to get that to like 100, 200, 300, right? We want to grow that because it's a way, if someone can't afford coaching with us, they can get in the community at a fraction of that cost and still get access to us for like answering questions, and get access to a lot of the tools and ideas that we use in our coaching for those high ticket items. And then we also just want to grow like our social media. So like those things are kind of competing, but there are ways that we can work them in together. So having that goal clarity, like on the 0 to 100, it just helps you identify, okay, I want to lose fat. I'm not so worried about muscle. Cool, I'm going to lose fat a lot quicker. I want to build muscle. I'm not worried about a six pack. Cool, I'm going to build muscle quicker. Right. So having that goal clarity, I think, is the number one thing that we have to focus on. Get crystal clear on what your goals are. And if I ask you on a scale of 1 to 100, again, 1 being not at all and 100 being crystal effing clear, what I'm going to say is like, how crystal clear are you on a scale of 1 to 100? How specific are you with your goals right now? So, Holly.
When I first started losing weight, I went into the gym. I was 215 pounds. So like, and I'd never worked out before. None of my family worked out. So I didn't think or care anything about getting stronger, aesthetics. Like I just wanted to lose weight and feel comfortable in my skin. So I went through that whole process. Andy obviously helped me do that. And then when I got to that last like 10, 15 pounds I wanted to lose, the thing he asked me is like, okay, what's your next goal? So I wasn't trying to do all these things at once. Like I probably would have driven myself crazy if I was trying to do all those things at once. So losing weight was my main goal. When I got there, I wanted to work on building muscle and getting stronger. And that was my goal for a long time. Now I was more focused on like physique and wanting to look like a superhero and longevity, but so I'm not worried about squatting 300 pounds or anything like that. But you can have all these goals, but like focus on a main one, kind of like one at a time. It'll make it easier, the whole process easier. So.
Yep. And that's a really good point too. That's something I meant to, but I got on a riff where it's not that you can't hit all of those goals, but focus on one and achieve it. And then go to the next one, go to the next one. Like, and again, one of the things like we're really big on this saying in the Fresh household and in the nutrient health kind of culture is always mile markers, never finish lines, right? So that whole idea is like you're always basically setting the next goal. So even though you're aiming towards one thing, you have to stay focused on that thing. If you're here right now and this is where you're trying to get, you're focused on that. But you also know if you just kind of look right past it, you're like, okay, but that's the next goal that I'm heading towards too, right? So yes, you can definitely do that. The next thing, goal importance. So we just talked about goal clarity. Now we've got goal importance. So if goal clarity is like, what is your top desire? Goal importance is basically asking like, where is your level of discipline in this? So goal importance, aka your discipline, is you could also essentially rephrase this as your future vision has to be greater than your past decisions. So another way you could say this is just like, how bad do you want it? But here's the thing of this, like if I use that analogy of like, this is you right now and you have this goal that you're aiming for, understand that hey, it's great to have a goal, right? Like goals, like I said, they get you out of bed, they motivate you to do things. But the shitty thing about goals is that they take time to achieve, right? Even if they're like something simple, might take a couple of weeks or a couple of months, but something that you're really working hard on, like that takes years to get to. Right. And the problem with that is that the only way you ever actually see that goal, if it is a bigger, more audacious goal that's like years out in the future, the only time you actually see that is when you close your eyes and use your imagination. That means any other time that your eyes are open, you're seeing your current reality. You're seeing the body that you want to change. You're seeing it every day in the mirror. And you're like, damn it, like I'm not making progress, right? Or you kill yourself for 3 months and you're like, oh, wait, I can see like a tiny bit of a dimple of a muscle right there, right? Or you've been like stagnant on a lift and you just have not progressed past that thing. And it's the thing that you're seeing all of the time. And I think that's one area where a lot of goals go to die is people are always seeing the here and now, and they're not repeatedly and continuously obsessed and intentionally looking at that future version of what they want, whether that's a them thing or a material thing or an impact on other people. Like, and this is where, again, these are things that we practice, like every single night, one of the things that I do is like visualize stuff while I'm in the shower, just trying to relax. And I'm just sitting there thinking about like the vision of what I think 2026 is going to be like and what I think 2035 is going to be like and what life is going to be like when I'm on my deathbed. These are the things that I think about. So when I go to sleep, that's what I'm thinking about. So that when I wake up, it's like, I don't even need the alarm. It's like, hey, get your ass out of bed. Like, let's go. There's things to do, right? So having that discipline and understanding that your future vision has to be more important to you than your past decisions, because the past decisions, the things that you go to for comfort, whether that's Netflix and chill, whether that's going out to eat all the time, whether that's, the sweets and treats that you or your spouse or your kids are bringing into the house, those are the things that have gotten you to the point that you want to change from. Right? So you have to remember that that future vision that you're trying to get to, it has to take precedence over the decisions that you make on a daily basis, or those decisions that you make on a daily basis better damn well be aligned with that thing that you're trying to get to. Right? So that's, again, goal importance. Anything you want to add to that?
And say like it's instant gratification versus delayed gratification. Like this day and age, like you can order something on Amazon and have it within a few hours. And it's like anything that you want to do in your life is going to take time. If I want to, learn coding, like I could do it, but it's going to take a long time. Like when I lost the weight, it took 9 months. It wasn't just instant. Yep. And I think we get so complacent and comfortable with like, well, I'm comfortable with my life now and it's easier, but that goal's like really hard and that's going to take a long time. It's like, you have to get past that and know that like anything worthwhile is going to take time and that it's going to be worth it in the end. And I think, the more you stay off of, the dopamine hit on social media or like just thinking things are going to be instant, the better you'll be in the long run.
Yep. So. Well, so you're talking focus, right? So like focus is essentially another way of wording out discipline. I mean, discipline is like doing the thing that you might not want to do and doing it like you love it, right? I think that's a Mike Tyson quote. And focus is essentially the ability to take your attention and put it on one thing. And social media is definitely training people to do the exact opposite, right? And look, from like a very real standpoint that Holly and I have both kind of experienced firsthand, is like just try sitting in silence for 10 seconds. Let's make it really uncomfortable.
Oh, Lord.
We're gonna sit here for 15 seconds. Neither one of us are going to say anything for 15 seconds. That's it. 15 seconds, a quarter of a minute, right? Like how many minutes? And I want you to just sit here and as this 15 seconds is ticking by, think about or recognize and pay attention to how many times your brain tries to go off course into a different thought or pull out a phone or like lose focus on the damn thing. Like I'm even partly afraid to do this right now because I'm afraid we'll lose half of the audience for 15 seconds of silence. But I'm doing this anyways because this is an important thing to understand. And I'll tell you how you cure this after we sit through this 15 seconds of silence, starting in 3, 2, and you better not skip past the 15 seconds of silence. That's bullshit because you're missing the whole point. Sit here in this 15 seconds with me and notice how often does your brain try to go to a distraction and tell you it's uncomfortable to not have stimulation right now. That's what I'm trying to get across. Your brain has been trained for constant stimulation. It didn't used to be like that. I can remember I was born in 77, right? 1977, back in my day. And I can remember sitting on a couch during the summer, bored to tears because there was nothing to do. Dude, I haven't been bored in 10 years now, right? So we're going to sit here for 15 seconds. Sit through this discomfort, damn it. 15 seconds in 3, 2, 1, start. Holy shit, you made it. So, and like, I don't know about you, but even as that time was going, part of my smartassness wanted to start humming the Jeopardy theme song, or I tell you 5 seconds, okay, 10 seconds. Like it's just so, and maybe it's just me. maybe I'm the only one who has the spastic brain that always craves distraction, but I don't think that's the case. So, like Holly was talking about, like discipline, focus, these things are being trained out of us. How do you go about fixing that if that was an extremely uncomfortable 15 seconds for you? One of the approaches that we've seen is, and these are younger kids that are doing this, but I think it's a really cool concept. It's called raw dogging boredom. So basically, what you'll do is if you search that term, you'll find people who are sitting there with a digital timer, like running just like I did with the 15 seconds on camera, but they're doing it for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, like I'm sure way longer than that, right? Where this timer is running and they're just sitting there. Now, obviously, the camera is like time lapse, so you're not painfully watching them for like 10 hours, but they're just sitting there and not doing anything. And like the whole idea is that you're resetting your brain's craving for constant stimulation. Because guess what? If you have an important, big, audacious goal and you said, I'm 100% clear on my goal clarity, and I 100% know that my goal is going to be hard as shit to hit, guess what? You still live in the 21st century and you have things vying for your attention at all times. And your ability to stay focused on that hard, audacious goal that you want to get is 100% correlated with your chances of succeeding that goal and achieving that goal, right? So if every moment, if you stand in line at a grocery store for 2 seconds and you pull your phone out and you start flipping through some shit, you're probably going to have a hard time unless you're flipping through things intentionally and doing research on something or replying back to something like that someone commented on the thing. But it's your inability to focus is going to lead to an inability to prioritize your goal and an inability to stick to the thing that you're trying to do. So just a free little bonus tool there for you. All right, so we've got goal clarity, we've got goal importance. The next thing that we are going to go to is goal continuation. So those are the 3 G's of the game plan, right? Goal clarity, goal importance, goal continuation. This could also be AKA learning. So this is one that I get a lot of pushback from people on because you'll hear people say, just tell me what to do, right? And I'm really big on education, and I will be the first to admit that sometimes I'm too big on education, right? And I've literally even been having ChatGPT help me when I do videos for our clients, whether they're nutrition videos or lab work interpretation videos or whatever it is, the videos that can tend to go to like 20, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour long. I run the transcript through chat and ask it to give me tips on how to make this video better. And 99% of the time, what Chad is telling me is like too much. Like, you're talking too much, you're doing this, like shorten it. It tells me what I'm doing right, but it's also like I'm giving too much information. Now, with this goal continuation, I'm not saying that you have to know everything there is to know about the body to lose weight. I'm not saying you have to understand every single supplement you're taking, but I am saying the more you know about the supplements you're taking, the better off you're probably going to be. I am saying that the more you know, like I have people routinely sit across from me, and when I ask them their medication, they're like, I don't know, one for blood pressure, and I think the other one, I think it's for allergies. Like, bro, how do you not know the things that are putting into your body, especially for something like a pharmaceutical that's having like likely system-wide effects on your body, right? Or like a sledgehammer effect on your body. So it's essentially, this would be like, you could say this is AKA learning, but I would also say goal continuation would be like taking responsibility, because this goes back to the, if you give a man a fish, he eats for a day, teach a man to fish, right? He eats for a lifetime. It's the same thing. Like, if I have a client, if we are working with someone, whether we're, again, training, nutrition coaching, whatever, if I'm doing something with someone and they get to their goal, cool, great. But like, that's not a success for me. The success for me is something like Holly, where she lost 90 plus pounds. Hey, cool, great. I've had a lot of people, like, we currently are like, there's someone who's lost 100 pounds. There's somebody that's lost 140 pounds. There's another guy that's lost 40 pounds in like 100 days. Those are current clients right now that we have, right? Not like, oh, I have this in like 10 years in the past. But the thing that impresses me is that she's kept it off for this whole time, and she's kept it off for this whole time because she gives a shit. She has goal clarity, goal importance, but she wants to learn about things. And if I ever catch her, like if I'm, giving her a powder or something and she just takes it, I'm like, don't just like ask me, what am I giving you? Why are you taking it? Right. So, so just, I guess maybe have pity for Holly because she's getting like the cruel tutelage.
Getting taught all the time.
Yeah, whether she likes it or not. But I think it is extremely important, excuse me, for you to understand that like teach me should always be better than tell me. Right? So tell me what to do. Okay, cool. We get that goal, but then what happens if life happens later and you lose that goal? And you're like, you're gonna try to go back to the thing and like, wow, this is what I did last time. Like, how many people have tried to do like I lost 30 pounds with keto and then they fell off of keto and like they go back to it and it doesn't work anymore. Well, guess what? It's because your body adapted to keto. So rather than just learning keto, maybe you should understand like how to properly eat a healthy diet and how to identify the things that you're lacking. And maybe we should learn to do the big bucket items of like improving your sleep and understanding how you improve your sleep. Maybe we should do the things of like having a purpose in life, right? Rather than just like, I did keto and I lost 40 pounds and then I went back to it and I couldn't lose weight again. Well, your body adapted. That's why, right? But if you were like, hey, teach me about this. Why does keto work? Why will it not work again in the future, right? And I'm picking on keto, but like, XYZ diet, whatever it is, if you are curious, I'll put it this way. The clients that I work with that are curious, that are like, teach me and tell me the things, they will continuously outperform the clients who are like, I don't care about the information, just tell me what to do. Continuously outperform them, and they will keep the results around longer as well. So any thoughts?
It's just the same thing as like the people who like just give me a meal plan versus like teaching me how to eat. Like meal plans, you could get tired of those foods. You can later like have some gut issues and then them not sit well with you, and then you don't know what to do because you just got a meal plan. Like you taught me how, like, what macros even were. I didn't know what macros were, what was a protein or carb. Like, that's not anything I dealt with my whole life. You taught me how to count my calories and, how to properly fill my plate. And that made all the difference. So
it truly, truly does. All right. Yes. So, sorry, we had to pause for a little technical error. The battery of the recording device here was getting a little low, so I had to pause that. So, sorry for the break. Now, so we've got goal clarity, goal importance, goal continuation. The next one, now we're going into the M and the E part of game plan. So, the first ME is mental and emotional tolerance. So you can think of your mental and emotional tolerance as your overall toughness. These first three, goal clarity, goal importance, goal continuation, these are basically like, they're the foundational pieces of this. What do I want to do? How clear do I understand how difficult it's going to be? And how much do I want to understand about the journey going there, right? So we've got those. Now the hard work starts. Now we've got the destination. We know where we're heading. We understand that the journey is going to be long, and we are open to learning the back roads or the highways and the different paths to get there, right? Cool, great. Now we're stepping out the door and heading towards the goals. So the first thing is we're looking at the mental and emotional tolerance. Again, this could also be called toughness instead, right? So this is going to essentially break down into your goal has to be more important than your feelings. So with your goal importance, step number 2, 0 to 100 or 1 to 100 rather, I said you have to think of your future vision being more important than your past decisions, right? Because we're always going to default to past decisions, or though I should say not always, but the tendency to default to our past decisions is always high when we're struggling. So if the goal importance is your future vision has to be more important to you than your past decisions, your mental and emotional tolerance, or your toughness here, is going to essentially be that your goal has to be more important than your feelings. And this is where I'm going to drop the F-bomb in the entire episode for you. So be proud of me for that. I think really anybody listening, if me saying effing is worse than actually saying the actual F word. But Holly has this on her screen, on her wallpaper. But I mean, you feel free to open it for the people that are viewing this.
I don't know if y'all could see it.
So if you're not watching, or if you can't see it clearly in the picture, basically this comes from a lady named Layla Hermosi, which she's an awesome individual to follow. But it's essentially fuck your feelings, follow the plan. So, and that I think is something that when we're working with someone and they're 6 months into it and they've got the goal and they're working towards it and they're not perfect, right, by any stretch. They're, nobody is perfect. They're not perfect. They're struggling a little bit, but they're making overall they're 7 out of 10 or an 8 out of 10 or even a 9 out of 10. Eventually life is going to come along and slap you upside the head. Or again, old habits are going to come calling. Or there's going to be a situation where somebody close to you passes away, or you get into an argument with someone that you're close with, or maybe somebody you're close with just isn't really supportive of your goals. And you get to a point where you're like, dude, I can't do this anymore. And it's at that point that we have to kind of ask ourselves, like, how high is your threshold for the shit that is going to come up against you? Right. And this is like, the lower your mental and emotional tolerance, the lower your toughness, the lower your threshold, the more likely you are, going back to the goal importance, the more likely you are to default to those past decisions that got you, again, where you are now, right? And if you think it stings to like fail and start again at like day 3 or day 4, how bad do you think that shit stings when you're at like month 6 or month 8 or year 2 and you fall off and you backslide and the 50 pounds that you've lost or the 80 pounds that you've lost comes roaring back right now because something happened to your life to make you a sensitive buttercup and your feelings took over and your threshold just completely collapsed, right? So your mental and emotional tolerance, you have to have a high amount. And look, I know this all sounds kind of like hard ass ish as well, but it's all going to be, again, these things are all stacking in order. And I think it's going to be dependent. So like, you don't have to be, Billy Badass or Tommy Tough Nuts if the goal is to, lose 2 pounds, right? But if the goal is to lose 100 pounds and even then, okay, the goal is to lose 100 pounds. You can still, I mean, Holly, we've talked about this in past episodes, but when you lost how often were you doing like once a week for the fast food for the first what pounds?
Probably first 30 or 40.
So she lost 30 to 40 pounds, still going to fast food once a week, right? So, and that was fine because at the time it was 30 or 40 pounds. That's what she wanted to do. And like, but then, we were talking about this yesterday. She's like, when I went to the gym to start losing weight, the goal wasn't to lose 100 pounds. You thought you would want to lose how many?
I just thought I'd start and lose maybe 20 pounds.
Yeah, with 20 pounds. Actually, in the car last night, you said like 10 to 15. You were like, I'm just going to lose like 10 to 15 pounds. And you end up losing like 90 plus, right? And then becoming a trainer and helping other people do this. But so it's the level of your goal, the level of the clarity of your goal, the level of the intensity of your goal are going to be directly correlated to the level of mental and emotional tolerance and toughness that you have. Because again, the tougher the goal, the tougher the journey, the harder things are going to be on you, right? And again, take your circumstances into account. If you're by yourself, that might make it harder or easier, right? If you're by yourself, it's going to be easier than having a spouse who is like completely against your goals. Mm-hmm. But for some people, being by themselves mean they have to do it all by themselves, right? So that's an individual kind of basis where, do you need the support? Or are you good without the support? But we have to look at the overall situation and circumstances that you're in and the overall level of difficulty of the goal or goals that you're pursuing, and understand if it's a big, audacious goal, then you better understand that you need some mental and emotional tolerance, because guess what? And especially in this day and age, because it's everything. And dude, I get it, like rightly so, because a lot of people have been, told to like, just deal with it, right? And just swallow it down and eat your shit sandwich and don't complain about it. So there's a lot of conversation these days about like your feelings are valid. And this is not saying that someone's feelings are not valid or that their perspective isn't important and it shouldn't be taken into consideration. But it's like my answer to that would be, okay, and then what? Right. So if it's, and it's easy for me to say as a, 6'1" white male with blue eyes, right? Like I did not grow up in money. I've had like decades of addiction and all of the shit that I've gone through, the nights of like having my suicide planned out, right? Oh, boo hoo, poor woe is me. But the thing is like, I could have accepted that and said, well, I'm just an addict and I come from a family of addicts and this is just my life. Or I could say, you know what? I think if I get past this shit, it's going to make for a pretty epic story on the other side of it because I'm going from this selfish, self-centered dumpster fire of a human being who's living in houses that don't have electricity or running water, having to hop the fence to fill up this gallon jug of water like 2 or 3 times just to flush the toilet, to someone who's got his shit together and literally lives every second of his day trying to help other people improve their lives and their health. And it's all just spider webbed out into this like really awesome experience that I call life now. So I didn't let that thing define me. And again, if you're listening to this video or episode and you want to let the thing define you and you say, I have this goal, but I can't because XYZ, and you want to give that XYZ thing the power, it's not a morality call. That's your choice. And I'm not saying you're a good person or a bad person for this. That is it, this whole episode is strictly surrounding how to help people get to the goal that they're trying to get to. And if you have a big audacious goal, I'm telling you, you cannot let your feelings get in the way and derail you for that. Right now, it is important to, again, context is going to be like critical here. So if on the journey you get tired and you need to sit down and chill for a second, sit down and chill for a second, right? Let your feelings, like I'm not telling you to like swallow the feelings down. They don't matter. What I'm telling you is when they pop up, you need to have a serious conversation with yourself. Like, is this feeling valid right now? Do I need to give it energy? Is giving this feeling energy going to benefit me in 5 minutes, in a month, in a week, whatever it is, right? And sometimes that's a yes. Sometimes you're exhausted and sometimes you're tired and sometimes you just say, I am tired. I feel exhausted. I'm not going to go to the gym today. Or I am fed up of eating the same food items day after day. I'm going to go get whatever, in Holly's case, Jimmy John's, or I'm going to go get a gluten-free pizza or whatever it is. But if that thing turns into a weekly thing of, you know what, I want the pizza. I did it last Friday. It felt pretty good. I'm going to do it again. And then like, you know what, I think I might throw in a couple of drinks with it because that's going to feel, well, now we're going counterproductive and going against the other, like we're going in the other direction to what the goal was in the first place. So you have to have a high level of mental and emotional tolerance. If your ambitions are high, like those things have to correlate together. So I would ask you with the mental and emotional tolerance, how high is your threshold for the things that you're going through? And can you keep in mind, fuck your feelings, follow the plan, unless it's like a legitimate thing where you take a little bit of a break and get back into it. So anything?
Yeah, just as far as like the mental toughness, I had two thoughts come to mind. And like I've had both like coworkers at a different job and family, both people who are supposed to be your friends or your family, like supporting you or like, oh, come on, just have a cheat meal or just like my grandma actually got her feelings hurt because I would not eat her rolls or her pie. Like I had to tell her, like, I love you and I'm that doesn't change. I'm sure it's delicious, but this is my goals. And like, I don't want to step off that path right now. I'm doing good. I feel good doing what I'm doing. At work, I used to work at a pediatric office years ago and they would bring in all kinds of treats and like your coworkers like, come on, just take one. It's not going to hurt you. And it's the mental toughness of, it's almost like they feel like they feel bad about you doing better or you making the better choice and them not. So it would make them feel better if you did that other choice. But my goals were such on point of like, this is what I want. This is what I've been working my ass off for. And I don't want to let that slip because, someone coaxed me into it, or, it smelled really good in the moment or whatever. So staying tough in those moments and staying true to yourself and your goals. Another thought I had is like, when I lost the weight, I was able to wear clothes that I've never been able to wear. Like when my hormones hit, when puberty hit, it's like my weight just kind of went up. And so I've never felt like I wore the cool clothes or whatever. So when I finally lost the weight and I fit into a pair like of size 2 or size 4 that I never thought in my life I would ever wear, I thought in that moment, I still think about it, is like the feeling of that feels way better than 5 minutes of mouth pleasure. So like if you just like take 15 minutes to let the emotion or the feeling or whatever pass, and then visualize like what it's going to feel like when I wear those clothes, when I look at myself in the mirror, when I feel comfortable in my skin, and let those feelings pass. Like they will pass. Emotions and feelings like are like all the time, happen all the time. So just give yourself like 15 minutes and push past and visualize what your goal, what it's going to feel like, what you're going to look like when you reach that goal, and you'll be able to move past it and keep on with your toughness.
Well, and that brings up like, so a couple of thoughts, like that brings up a really good point of like so if I say half-life, right? Like the half-life of something is just the time it takes for half of that thing to like be metabolized by the body, essentially. If we look at the emotional half-life, or the half-life of your emotions and your feelings, it's actually pretty short. It's a matter of like seconds. If you are truly, truly honest about it, the thing that keeps that feeling or that emotion or that craving around a lot longer is you playing this imaginary game of tennis or badminton with the thing. You're batting it back and forth, right? Or like if somebody cuts you off in traffic, sure, you have that initial like, this asshole, right? But it's you could also then instantly say, you know what? Maybe their mom is in the emergency room and they're trying to get to her really quickly, right? And just even if you know that's not the case, if you just tell yourself that, then instead of it being this rude jerk that just cut you off and, pissed you off and almost caused a wreck, and you're like road raging out on them, you can just be like, whatever, like it's all good, because it's not doing you any good to road rage out. And especially in these day and ages where it's like everybody are like, people are getting shot on the streets over like a red light thing. I don't think it serves you. So the half-life of emotions, the half-life of feelings, it really only continues to linger because you're taking it and like juggling it and keeping it alive over to how dare they, how could they, right? Or the craving of like, I don't want the cookies, I don't want the donuts. And it's just like, dude, let it go. Right. So when this is something that when Holly and I, like we've talked about this before, if we go to a holiday party or, go out to eat for some kind of a gathering or something, and there's like a bunch of food, like we don't surround ourselves with food that like we personally, again, and this all comes back to like the level of your goal, right? We have high, audacious, big goals. So because of that, we just don't really feel the need to step off course. So again, if your goals are not that high, I'm not telling you like you can never have a cookie again, right? It's just it's relative to the goal, and it's relative to the intensity of the desire to reach the goal. But when we go out to Christmas parties or gatherings or whatever it is, and there are other food items there that like we know that we wouldn't eat those on a regular basis, we typically like don't even think about it, because I think when people are like, well, how do you not eat the stuff at the Christmas party? It's like, dude, I don't think about it. Like I don't go and just look at it. It's like, mouth pleasure, like, God, I couldn't wait to have that thing, right? And I'm not too far removed to remember what it's like to obsess over eating something, right? Whether it's Fruity Pebbles or a honey bun or whatever the thing was in the past, that was like my weak point. I'm not too far to remember what it was like to have that. But now, whenever I had that realization, it was on a birthday a couple of years ago, when I had the realization of like, holy shit, I'm making myself suffer because I'm sitting here like just even like you saying no to something is still giving that thing energy. So it's like what I'm telling you is not to like refuse the thing. What I'm telling you is to stop thinking about the thing. Put your brain somewhere else. Again, it goes back to your focus, your discipline, your goal importance, right? My goal is more important than the thing that is sitting in front of me, which then means I need to place my focus elsewhere, which means I'm not even going to think twice about the stupid thing. Right. And like when Holly was talking about working at the pediatrician's office, like they were bringing in, the donuts or whatever. She's told me the story before where like she would just smell the donuts and that was enough. Or there's been times where we've had peanut butter in the house, and like I personally don't eat peanut butter because, and I feel like that's a blasphemous thing to say because peanut butter is one of those things where people will die on a hill for peanut butter. Like you don't eat peanut butter. It's like I love the taste of peanut butter, but like it just doesn't love me. I don't have a peanut allergy, but if I eat peanut butter like more than 2 or 3 days in a row, I will physically start to feel like I have a flu. So I don't eat it. But on the rare occasion where I'm like, okay, like I'll get a peanut butter, I'm gonna have it one day, I don't throw it out. I might leave it in the fridge and like I'll just open it once in a while and smell it because it gives me my brain that kick of like peanut butter, right? So, but it's coming back to if the thing is in front of you and you sit there and obsess over it, even if it's saying, I don't want it, you're still essentially watering that seed of the craving and continuing to help it germinate and grow in your brain. The other thing I wanted to say is people like I understand it, but I don't understand it where it's if Holly and I, God forbid, we get sick or we have the flu because like we're human beings and like we do like work in a petri dish of an environment, being at a gym. We have the clients. Look, also fun fact, or not fun fact, but gym etiquette pro tip: if you're working out and you have a trainer, or you're working out with another friend or something like that, or you're just working out and talking to somebody, if you're breathing heavy in a set, don't look right at the person as you go. Like the number of times where I've had someone like blow my hair because they're in between a set and like just blow in my face. I'm like, dude, I don't need that. Like just like maybe point your breath downward or like turn to the side. Like just germs come flying out, right? I've completely derailed myself with that. What was I saying?
I don't think you even got this thought out.
No, being sick. So God forbid that we get sick because we work in this petri dish and people blow in my face as they're training with me, right? And if we get sick and we go through periods where, we're again, 60 to 70-hour work weeks, this is all getting much better, by the way. We'll make another video coming up soon just on the things that we've done to win back our time. So instead of working 6-7 days a week, we are now down to 5 days a week. I don't want to digress on any of this, but getting a schedule, getting organized, and getting like your time tracking on point will fundamentally change your life. But going back to the point, God forbid we get sick because people will say things like, I think you just need to have a cheeseburger more often. I have had people tell me, I think you just need to have cookies and ice cream more often. Like those things are going to make my body healthier and more resilient. Like, hey, I think you should put junk and shit into your system so that it gets better. Like that, like, so fundamentally, if you want to look at this as what's called like the principle of hormesis, which is exposing yourself to like a small amount of poison and like you get more resilient from that does 100% work in the aspect of like phytonutrients and having plants, right? The benefit that we get from those phytonutrients, if you're not familiar, just plant nutrients, the benefit that we get from those things just comes from like it's essentially a small dose of poison that would like kill an insect, but for us it just gives us a benefit because the body responds to it. You could also say the same thing from exercise, right? We get go ahead, put your foot up, you're good. We get a hormetic response in a way from exercise. You do something really hard and it sucks and your body actually gets weaker afterwards because it's recovering and getting better. But nowhere in that thinking is, hey, a cheeseburger is going to make you healthier, right? Some greasy food, that's what you need. Now, some people will swear by that. Some people say, when I'm sick, potato chips or tater tots or cheesy tots or whatever makes me feel better. Cool. That's called a comfort food and it works. If it works for you, it works. But it's one of those things I've never understood it. Any other things on that?
No.
Okay. So the mental and emotional tolerance, again, I'll say it one last time, fuck your feelings, follow the plan. Your goal has to be important, more important than your feelings, because other people are going to try to chip away at your feelings. And I don't think it's a malicious thing. Sometimes it might be. I'm reminded of my ex, who, whenever I would get sober on a couple of different occasions, would say, I just wish you weren't sober because I want to get high or I want to drink. Sometimes it is malicious, but I think other times it's people just being naive and they're not fully grasping that you're just a little bit different because you have a goal and you're trying to do something with your life. Because unfortunately, I don't think the vast majority of people are really trying to do anything besides pay their bills, have a job, right, raise some kids, and experience some cool stuff in their life. But if you want more out of your life, you're good. If you want more out of your life, then you're going to have to understand that sometimes your feelings might get in the way of that. The last thing, so again, to kind of summarize, we've got goal clarity, goal importance, goal continuation, and then mental and emotional tolerance. The last thing we have here is your mental and emotional resilience. This could essentially be AKA your ability to adapt or your adaptability. So this is going to be your decisions have to be better than your derailment. So this is essentially, hey, we've got the goal, we're specific about it, we know it's going to be a hard journey, we're excited to kind of learn about it. Maybe we want to learn, maybe we don't want to learn everything, but we want to learn something about it and be a better version of ourselves. And we're mentally and emotionally tough. Guess what? Life is still going to try to kick you in the nuts and like essentially knock you down in some way, shape, and form. Everybody eventually is going to like have to take a break and sit down and stop. But your mental and emotional resilience, your ability to adapt, is essentially saying like when you derail, because it's inevitable, how quickly can you get your ass back up and go, right? And you could also add to this, when you derail, how bad do you derail, right? Do you go way off course? Do you go like, I'm so far out in left field right now that like I don't even remember what I was doing 2 months ago, right? And this was something I used to do when I was drinking, right? Which, I mean, this is kind of timely again. I celebrated 4 years of sobriety yesterday on Christmas Day. Ooh, but it's one of those where, and I mean, Holly again, like if I just said I celebrated 4 years of sobriety, and you know that if you know that she and I are 8 years together now being married, then you can do the math and realize that for about 4 of those years, like I was still drinking and not my best. I'm still not my best shape, right? But or like best version. But she saw me at my lowest, and the number of times that we've had the conversation, because like if I would drink and get junk food, she wouldn't drink. She's never had a drop of alcohol in her life, but she would like get junk food with me. And whenever it came up and that craving was there, whether it was 2 or 3 times a week or we were doing good for 2 weeks and I would like, oh, this bad thing. I remember one time going when I had gone back to college. I like clearly this wasn't the thing. I was just looking for a reason. But I went to college and I couldn't find a parking spot because the parking at our local college is notoriously atrocious. And I remember like calling Holly at like 10:30 in the morning and just saying like, I couldn't get parking. Screw this. I'm going to go to the store. I'm getting some alcohol. She was like, well, okay. And I was just like, ah. But like the number of times that we had the conversation of me saying, hey, I'm really struggling right now. I want to go to the store and get my alcohol and my food and all that. And then she would say, well, and I would, it's just a one-time thing. She would say, well, it's never a one-time thing, to which I would retort, well, give me the chance to prove it, right? And the irony is that like 3 months later, I'm like, okay, it wasn't a one-time thing. Right. And we can look back and laugh at it now, but man, there were some miserable times in there, right? Me falling asleep with a donut halfway in my mouth, Holly falling asleep from like carb comas, right? Her having lost the 90 pounds, but then putting on another 15 or 20 because it was up and downs, me building something and then like losing all momentum because I would go on a 3 month bender. It's when we derailed as hard as we do when we train and do things the right way. Yeah. And it just came from us understanding, again, like having these 5 points. That's how we have stopped derailing. That's how we have stopped, like when we do derail, the level of derail. I made a post about this, I think yesterday on Facebook, and it was essentially, I'm paraphrasing here, but it was like when you make better choices consistently, what constitute a quote unquote bad night gets substantially less. And it was, years ago, a bad night was me waking up the next morning hating myself because once again I drank and had too much food and all of that. And then I quit the alcohol, and I had a couple of years where it's like, well, I smoked way too much weed last night and I ate way too much food. And then it was like, well, I'm still really like I'm staying up way too late and I'm working. I need to get better sleep. Now, what constituted a bad night for me is like I ate too close to the bed and I didn't read it all that day, right? So it's it's progress. So that the decisions that you're making and the derailments that you eventually are going to undertake, for lack of a better phrase, are going to improve if all of these others, the goal clarity, the goal importance, your goal continuation, your mental and emotional tolerance, if all of that is an 80 to 100 on that 1 to 100 scale, then when you derail, there's going to be a little voice in your head saying like, hey, asshole, get it together. You have something you want to do. Mm-hmm. And you'll realize, and I'm 48, I just turned 48 a month ago, right? And I can say that I wish I got this quicker, but I can say I think because it took me longer to learn these things, you can bet your sweet ass that I'm not going back to that, because it's like a lesson that was beaten into my head by yours truly, right? Like I did this to myself, and I'm not going back to that. So the thing that pulls me out of bed, and the thing that tells me like, hey, like, yes, this is episode number 34. Guess what? Episode number 35 is coming next week. Right? It might even come sooner than that. But when I tell you, like, we're dialed, I'm dropping another one, we're dialed the fuck in right now, like, I mean it, because it's just the lessons learned along the way. If you have big audacious goals, right, they're scary, and you're going to derail. And when you derail, if you understand that you're human, and emotions are going to run high at certain points, and there are going to be times when I think it's kind of like, I never went to any Alcoholics Anonymous thing, but it's like HALT, when you're hungry, angry, lonely, and tired, right? So essentially when you are fatigued, when you're emotional, those are going to be the times that break you down and are going to pull you off course. But if you still fundamentally say, hey, cool, it's okay if I go off course. It's not okay if I go 40 miles off course. It's okay if I step off the path for 2 seconds, catch my breath. Maybe I go have a cheeseburger. Maybe I go have a piece of pizza. Maybe I go do the thing that I want to do. But guess what? It's going to be the only one I do for the next 6 months, because I'm getting my ass back on track. Like when you do that and you look back, you'll be amazed at how far you can go when you are dialed in, and your level of derailment is minor and short-lived, because you understand that the decisions you're making are going to directly impact how quickly and how effectively you get to your goals. So
absolutely. And like as an example for us, like there was a Friendsgiving that we went to one time, and we had the food we wanted to have, and shout out to Victoria, because she makes some really good cornbread.
We didn't just say we had the food of the week. So there were two different instances, right? When the cornbread and pizza, two different things.
Yeah, that was two different.
Yeah, so we went to a
Friendsgiving. That was cornbread.
Right. We ate
another gathering.
All the cornbread.
We did. We ate the whole sheet of cornbread throughout the whole night.
Yeah, and then there was another gathering that you had a
6
piece,
months later,
whatever, but you had a piece of cauliflower pizza.
It's cauliflower pizza, y'all.
And then you had another piece of cauliflower pizza. Mm-hmm. And then you came up and said, am I the only person that had cauliflower pizza? So which I naturally had to say, hey, everybody. Has anybody else
throw me under the bus?
Has anybody else in this party had cauliflower pizza? And everybody was like, no. And we're like, so Holly just ate the whole damn thing all by herself.
But to be fair, I gave people time to get some if they wanted it.
Sure.
They didn't eat it. I ate it. Point is,
your level of derailment is cauliflower pizza, like
right? That or cornbread on Thanksgiving. Like, point is, like, that's not what we do on a normal basis. So for us to have like a friend's night out and we eat more cornbread, whatever, cool. We get up the next day, we work out, we're back in our routine, we're back to eating how we normally eat. That doesn't derail like in the past, like years ago, where it might have like, okay, let's go to the store and get some like ice cream and you know, candy, whatever, all the things. So it was, okay, we did that. We're fine, got back on track, and we're good. Like, I think we both talked to people who's like, you know, they, you know, holidays came up, and then it's like 3 months later, they're still eating the junk food. They stopped coming to the gym. And it's like, you can't live dichotomously. You have to like have actions in line with your goals. So.
Well, and so like I did a much shorter version of this video to a friend and a training client. And she had messaged and said that she was struggling, and you know she was on the struggle bus, and like her eating was just atrocious and all that. And I got on, I looked at her chronometer, the app that we use to track food. And it's like the eating wasn't really that bad. There was just some kind of snacky stuff here and there. But I think the bigger point for her was something that I want to get across to everybody that's potentially listening to this, and it's this. Eventually you're going to be derailed, and it's your choice whether you want to languish and sit in that derailment or not. But if you say, I'm really struggling as of late, fundamentally it's all just going to boil down to, hey, if you're derailed, what do you do? Like if a train is derailed, what's the solution? Get the thing back on the rail, right? Just stop doing the thing that you know you should stop doing. And again, this is when I say, you know, things like, oh, you know, a couple of 4th of Julys ago, Holly and I went and we ate a whole bunch of hot dogs and hamburgers, right? And people are listening to this and saying, like, do they have hot dogs every day? Like, what the hell? Why are you so intense? I'm not placing that on anybody else. I'm just saying, like, those are the goals that we have for ourselves. So if I'm saying we have those super high intense goals, and I'm trying to go from dumpster fire of a human being who had many suicidal like plans and all of this shit to like someone who is like impacting a lot of people and helping a lot of people, then we can help anybody else with their goals of self-improvement, of like improving health, whatever. Right? So, but it fundamentally comes down to if you're derailed, just get your shit back together and start. Here's one thing. Okay, it's simple in concept for me to say that, right? It's easy for me to say, hey, stop fucking up and get back on track. But it's a lot harder to do when you're in the shit, when you're in the muck, right? Like the hardest thing about being depressed is you know that you're depressed and you don't want to be depressed. So everybody that's telling you, or if you're going on an alcoholic bender, everybody's like, it's not good for you. Like, no shit, I didn't know that alcohol wasn't good for me. The hardest thing for you to do is the thing that you need to do, and that's get out and go do something and change it up, right? But I think we tend to want to go from one extreme to the other. So if you have derailed and you've fallen off, you want to go from like, and this is what happened to me. I'd be crushing it. I'd be hitting the morning workouts. My body was in great shape, and blah 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 blah. And I would derail and fall off. And I would go, and tell me if this resonates. I would go from like drinking and not doing things to saying like, I need to do a 3-day fast to get back on track. No, you don't. Right? If you're doing one extreme, guess what the best thing you can do to get underailed is? The simplest and smallest thing that you can do to put a point on the board for yourself that day. That's it. You don't take like a 40-car train and put it that's derailed and put it back on the rail all at once, right? You start by like trying to get one car back on the tracks. So you don't go from one extreme of like, man, I am a dumpster fire right now, to like, let me get back to like, you know, on top of my horse and like riding high. Dude, 1 point on the board. Make your bed, right? Like drink more water. Maybe don't drink today. Maybe don't have the pizza, whatever it is, but start small. Give yourself a winning chance. Sometimes like when I was really coming out of it and I finally want to be completely sober, I realized that a win just meant fall asleep on the couch if I'm tired. Right? Because there were times where I was tired and I felt like if I can't be productive, then I'm a loser. And if I'm a loser, I want to go drink or smoke weed or whatever to feel better. And I just realized like, oh wait, there's another option. I could just not do anything right now. If I'm too tired or mentally drained to do anything productive, I don't have to do something that's destructive. right? I can just kind of be in that middle ground of like just exist. And now we're coming full circle to the raw dogging boredom and like just be. Your brain doesn't need constant stimulation. And sometimes it's okay to just chill out and sit in a room quietly and stare at a wall if you need to. But if you need to get back on track, it doesn't have to be full bore into the other direction. So, anything to
Absolutely.
add to it?
That's it.
No, I think that's a pretty good episode back, number 34. So, like I said, we will be doing these episodes. The goal is weekly. We might even get to 2 a week. We'll see. So, just depends on the setup, the back end of getting these edited and uploaded and all that good stuff. So, with that, we appreciate you tuning in. We appreciate any comments, any feedback you have. Share this if if you found anything useful in here. Find us on social media. Honestly, Andy Frisch, Holly Frisch, Nutrient Health and Fitness. And I mentioned it towards the beginning or somewhere near the beginning of the episode, but Nutrient Nation on School is the community. We have tiered pricing on there. You can get in there, you get a free 7-day trial. Guys, there are hours upon hours upon hours of educational content in there going over like training and exercise mastery, supplement mastery, nutrition, like navigating nutrition, your lab work, breaking that down. We're working on a peptides course right now. There's another thing where I can't really do a whole lot of peptides coaching, this is a whole other topic that we haven't even really like taken much of a dive into in this episode at all. But peptides are extremely popular, and they are, I have 60-year-old ladies ask me about peptides, but I can't talk about that stuff very much on social media because you get banned and deplatformed and things get taken down. I could talk about that stuff until I'm blue in the face in our community because it's our community. There's a paywall, and you have to come in and join and sign up. And if you have questions about it, I can give you guidance on anything that you're doing, taking, curious about, want to know about, et cetera, et cetera. So, Nutrient Nation on School, free 1-week trial. I will try to put a link in the description of the video. Should be able to do that. And I think that's everything I got. So, Holly,
Yeah.
no
Thank
pressure.
y'all. Thank y'all for being here.
Take us out.
We appreciate it. And if you're still here from 1 year ago, we appreciate you very much. So
Yep.
thank you for being patient with us.
100%. You will not have to be patient anymore. So, with that, we love you for listening, and we will catch you guys in the next episode.
Bye.
Peace.